we learned the Mishnah, but just to go back over the Mishnah a little bit. So we're talking about how much malacha can we do on Erev Shabbos that continues on Shabbos. So the Gemara now is going to discuss, we're on the Gemara on Yud Ches Amud Aleph after the Mishnah is over. Mantan and Sinas Mayim. So we're talking about the dye, D-Y-E, that putting water into the dye. So it seems that according to Beis Shammai, now I didn't discuss it too much yesterday, so we'll just get a quick start on this. There's a machlokes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel about shvisas kelim. So this is very negeya. Our clocks, Shabbos clocks, timers, whatever you want to call them, that Beis Shammai doesn't hold of them at all. Beis Shammai holds that anything that we own, and we'll soon see later on, what if we don't own it? But our Shabbos clocks, since we own them, they're our kelim, just like it says in the Torah, Lemanya Nuach, Shorcha v'chamerecha, that our animals have to rest, so our kelim also have to rest. The Beis Hillel doesn't hold of that. So that's going to go through the whole sugya. So let's start the Gemara. The Gemara says, "Mantan and Nesinas Mayim Lajoy Zuhi Shriyasan." So the Mishnah seemed to say that if you hold like Beis Shammai and we don't want shvis, we don't want our kalim to be working, so we're not allowed to put water on top of the dough, the ink that is already in water. We're not allowed to add water to it. Why? Because the malacha is ultimately going to be lisha, kneading. So like in Yiddish, frankly, my parents, I grew up speaking Yiddish, so my parents used to say the kni. And when I told them that we don't pronounce the K, so I think my father, if I remember correctly, said Michigan English, So the same thing, it was kneading, right? Kneading. So kneading the dough is a malacha da'iraisa, but usually it means like to knead the dough. When you take the water and the dough and the flour and you mix it into a dough, that's called kneading. So over here, the only malacha that the Gemara thought is a problem with the water and the dye is kneading. So the Gemara asked, is that really kneading? You're not really doing anything with your hands. You're just adding water. So Gemara answers, Amar Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef said, no, one of the Tanoim holds like that. It's Rabbi. Rabbi holds. This Anya, we learned in a Brisa, if one person adds the flour, another person puts in the water by regular kneading. So the last one, the one that adds the second ingredient, all lisha is 2 ingredients. We'll discuss that later on when we have a lot of time. Hopefully by Daf Ayin Gimel, we'll be past all this and we'll discuss lisha at great length. So over here we're talking about lisha regular, a flour in water. So if somebody put in the water, it's not a problem. But then the second guy put in the flour, so divrei Rebbe. So even though nobody needed it yet, but as soon as you have flour and water together, Rebbe held that that's called lisha. However, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehudah, he disagrees. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehudah, he says, Yagabel is the same as lisha, except that it means by hand. As soon as you mix by hand, just 1 second. I'm just going to call Naftali for 1 second. Naftali, are you available? I don't know what's with the screen. I usually see myself and other people. Just tell me if this is the way it's supposed to be. I don't know. You see? Yeah, I know. It's okay. I only see myself. I used to see myself over there, and it was a little bit more, a little bit larger. So at least I felt a little bit better about it. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, Rabbi, say 1 second. We're just getting over the technical difficulties, and I'll see everybody also. Yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, I'm going to make a bracha. Bracha Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam she'akarni b'varek.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go to the Gemara. So the Gemara says that that's why Rav Yosef said that the author of our Mishnah must be Rebbe, because since in our Mishnah it said that if you just pour the dye and the water without mixing it, so you chayav on lisha. So who holds like that? It must be Rabbi, and not Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehudah. So Abaya disagrees with that. Abaya said, Amalei Abaya, Vidilma, maybe no. I'd kind of like Amar Rabbi Yosef El Bekemach Devar Gibelhu. Could be that when do you have to actually do gibel, in other words, by hand, mixing it, kneading the dough, like the ladies have been doing this since Hanukkah, but it's almost Erev Pesach, so we'll talk about it. When you knead the dough for the matzah, so they have to mamish like crush it, they move it, they work it, right? So that's the hard job of it. So that's the malacha of lisha. Al diyoy the lav bar gibel hu. What are you gonna do with ink? There's nothing to knead. So ema lichayev. So maybe everybody holds that even according to Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehudah, you don't have to be Rabbi. Maybe Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehudah holds that even there, that he would also agree that that's called lisha. So Morah says, Rabbi Yosef says, that can't be. How do we know this? Beferish from a brisa the Sanya. We learned in a brisa. Now let's say that somebody is kneading the ashes and water. So if somebody put in ashes, now we'll soon see there's all machlekas what afer means. The pashtus afer means ashes, and afer means earth or dirt. So if echad noisenes amayim, and somebody adds the water, so achon chayev. So the second one, the one that added the water, is chayev divrei Rebbe. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehudah, Rabbi Yehudah says, no, you have to actually knead it. So you see, ashes, there's nothing to knead on the ashes. It's not like a dough. And still, Rabbi Yehudah holds that the person's not chayiv unless he needs it. So Kneads, right? Unless he needs it. So Abaye says, no, V'dilma mai, Afer, maybe Afer means afar. It really means earth. The bar gibelhu, which is, you can, by earth, you could actually have to knead it by hand. So Morah says that can't be. Vostanya, we learned in the brisa Efer, Vostanya Offer. So one brisa says Efer, the other brisa said Offer. So l'chari, that means that these are two separate things. So Morah answers, no. Who says? Me de Gabi Hadadi Tanya. They weren't learned in the same brisa. They were learned in two different brises. So it could be that in one brisa, the author of the brisa holds that Efer is Offer. So that answers the kasha. So now the Gemara brings another brisa where the brisa says like this. Tanur Banu, we learned in a brisa, Paiskin Mayim Lagina. These are all things that you can start on Shabbos. Now this is very negay, Rabbi say, our shaila about the automatic water, the hoses that go on and they irrigate our gardens and our lawns. So the shaila is Paiskim Maim Lagina. They didn't have that in time of the Gemara, but they had what you could open the valve. Paiskim Maim Lagina Erev Shabbos and Chashecha. You can open a water hose. They had apparently something like that, some kind of a water channel. So it goes from a spring, and apparently the spring is a little bit higher. So the automatic way that it's going to work is that you put it on right before Shabbos. Let's say there was a drought or that particular garden needed a lot of water. So the Bais said that you could do it. You can place the mugmar is a kind of like an incense that in the time of Chazal everybody used in the house. It made the house smell good, and you could also put it under clothing so that the clothing would smell good. When would you do that? Erev Shabbos, right? Erev Shabbos, and you could do this. By the way, just as if you never heard the expression, when somebody gives a haskama to a person, some chaber, so he expects compliments. So the compliment usually is ein goimrim alav esahalo or oimrim alav mugmar, which means that there's no limit to how much you can say about him. But sometimes the person who's giving the haskama doesn't want to give a haskama, but he's forced to because it's family or it's somebody powerful. So he says ein goimrim alav esahalo. So that means either it means like, oh, you can't ever finish praising, or it means there's no praise for this guy at all. Anyway, that comes from the word mugmar. So mugmar was an incense in the time of the Gemara, and what can you do? You could leave this a whole Shabbos. Then what else can you do on Erev Shabbos? Apparently everybody holds like this. Now we would never do this, but they used to have silver bechers and silver items that we put into our break front, and they used to put sulfur and burn the sulfur so that it would bring out not so much the shape, but there was a design. And even though it became black, they didn't care. The main thing was the design. So by us, we don't want it to be black, and we're certainly not going to ever burn sulfur under it. By the time the Chazal they did, the question is, could you do it on Shabbos and not on Shabbos, Erev Shabbos, and leave it a whole Shabbos? Now the next one's a little bit different. You're allowed to put some kind of a salve or a cream on the eye. The isplanis agabi amaka, and you can put a dressing, which by us would be like a band-aid or a bandage onto a wound. Erev Shabbos in chashecha, u'misrapaz v'elachas kol hayom kulei, and there'll be refuah. Now by us there's a gzeira by refuah called Shema, it's called Shchikas Asamamonim, Shema Yischlik Es Asamamonim, that we're not allowed to use, even though by us they all come in pill form today or liquid form, and almost nobody grinds a medicine anymore. Although I've heard occasionally that people do, and the pharmacists still do occasionally, the Russian pharmacists for sure, you can ask them, but that was the gzeira called Shchikas Asamamonim, and it applies to all medications, unless Chas v'Shalom, it's like now, where people have pikuach nefesh, or somebody is sick enough to go to bed. But if it's a michush ba'alma, if it's only a little bit of a pain, so then you're not allowed to do it. So, but over here it said you can do it on Erev Shabbos, even though it's going to heal a whole Shabbos. So that's a little bit different, obviously, but we're going to go into it in a minute. Nice. Then what can't you do is chitin l'toicha rechaim shel mayim. So they used to have a water mill. The water ran, and there was a mill that when you threw the wheat, usually wheat, sometimes barley, into it, so it got ground by the running water. So that you can't do on Erev Shabbos, unless there's still time, Erev Shabbos, that it gets ground on Erev Shabbos. Whereas my time, everything else is mutter. Why is this asur? Whereas Amarabba mibnei shemashmas koil. Now this is very negeya, our what? Dishwashers. And for instance, let's say you have a guy that wants to clean up, whether she can, she usually cleans up, she mops up a little bit, or she brooms up, she uses a broom, but the question is, can she use the vacuum cleaner? So the general rule is, anything that's loud, hashmuas koil is asur, machlekes rishonim why. So this is very negeya us. Because if it's so clear that the, let's say the dishwasher is going on automatically, so there's probably no gzeira that somebody's going to think that we turned it on. It's obvious anybody that sees it all of a sudden starts going, and everybody knows that it's automatic. If you hold, however, the Hashmas Koil is Zilzuli the Shabbos, that's what Rashi says over here, it's just not nice for Shabbos that there's loud sounds, so that even if the sound is like sort of automatic, and nobody's going to think that we're doing it. So there's no Gzeira like that, but it's Zilzul Shabbos. So Lamaisa, we tend to be Machmir, although every generation of these different types of utilities, of things that we use are getting better and better. So the dishwashers are much more quiet, and therefore there are paiskim that allow it. So, for instance, I'm going to use the Masifta.
Not a problem that it uses hot water?
What? I'm sorry?
Not a problem that it uses hot water?
No, it doesn't really matter because a person's not doing it. The hot water is turned on automatically. It's good kasha, by the way. So
that means you could have theoretically like a timer in my sink, and I could use hot water. I could fill up a bathtub with hot water.
So theoretically, if it was something that would be otherwise mutter on Shabbos, then it would be mutter. Now, I think I marked it off over here. By the way, my Masifta is running out. If anybody is going out, I don't know if any farm stores are out, but I need the Masifta Shabbos Chelik Bais, the small one. If anybody's able to get it for me, I would be very happy to pay for it. It's about $20, and I would be very, very happy to pay for it. Otherwise, I'll try to see if somebody will ship me one. So I don't know if anybody's going out.
When does the Rabbi need it by?
What? Who? Oh, it's the next couple of days. I'll tell you in a second. We're holding now Daf Yud. This thing goes till Daf Chaf. So Yud Ches, Yud Tes, Chaf. So it's going to be today. Tomorrow's Yud Tes. Chaf, I'm still good. Chaf Aleph. Okay, so it's like the end of the week. But let me know if not, I'll do something else. But none of us are going out. That's the problem. But if anybody is going out, that would be very nice. But again, I have to pay for it, please. Okay, so I wanted to just tell you that there's a shita over here that this is mutter, even though, for instance, there might be sound, ashmuas koil, So there's a number of Rishonim over here, but let me just show. Maybe I think I did forget to mark it off. But it says, so Rashi said, "Ovi Hashmoas Koil Misparsem Adov V'yesh B'Kach Zilzul B'Kovet Shabbos." So Rashi says Kovet Shabbos. The Ritva says that it's Uvda Dechoil. The some of the other Rishonim say it's Shenois Nuchita Livcha B'Shabbos Atzma. People are going to accuse him, or at least think badly of him. They shouldn't, but they will, that he did this on Shabbos. So there's a whole machlokas Rishonim over here, and Lemaisa there are Rishonim that hold that even with Hashmoas Koil, it's mutter as long as it's a tzarich for Shabbos, and we're coming up to Yom Tov of Yom Tov. Okay. Anyway, we'll come back to this. So let's go back to the Gemara. So Gemara said that it's including Mishum Hashmoas Koil. So Rav Yosef disagrees with this whole thing. Normally, Rav Yosef says, "V'leima mamish shvisas kalim." Why don't you say that it was because of shvisas kalim? Now we said before that shvisas kalim is a machlekes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, but Rav Yosef seems to hold that even Beis Hillel holds of shvisas kalim. So let's see what he says. It says in the pasuk, the Sanya, it says in the pasuk, "V'chol asher amarti aleichem tishameru." So this means that you should take care of everything that I told you about. Rabbi shvisas kalim. So this pasuk, which seems to be a shtikol d'oraisa, even though most Rishonim say it's only a smachta ba'alma, say that this is to teach us that your kalim have to rest also. Again, just like Laman Yanuach Sharcha v'chamarecha, your animals have to rest, and obviously it says your children and your family have to rest. So also the kalim have to rest. So Gemara has a kasha that if that's the case, so how come Rav Yosef says that some of these things are mutter, some of these things are asur? Since Rav Yosef told us that it's not machlokes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, but Beis Hillel also holds of shvisas kalim. So God for so mugmar. So how come we were allowed to have the sulfur going on to fix up the silver kalim? And mugmar was that we want our clothing to smell sweet, to smell nice, like perfume. So my time is sharu. How come it's mutter? So the Gemara answers, no, mishum d'lekovid ma'aseh. Listen, there's a very big machlekes over. I'm just going to say parsha shad, because then it's passive. In other words, if the kalim are doing something, so then there's an inyan of shvisas kalim. But over here, the kalim are just being used by something else. So in each case, let's say the gofris, the sulfur. So the pshat is the sulfur is making the kli better. It's showing up. It's highlighting its features, or the graphics on it, or something like that. And mugmar, the beged is getting sweeter. It's getting sweeter smelling, but it didn't do anything. So in each case, the kli didn't do anything, so it's passive. So the Gemara said that leikovid ma'aseh. So now the Gemara goes on, ugen shel pishna on my time is sharu. But then we said also that when you take the bundles of flax, you put it into the vat, so that it's going to become whitened. That's malaben. That's an issa d'oraisa. That's one of the lamites malachas. But we said you could do it before Shabbos. The Gemara answers the same thing. Because it's simply sitting there. So the Gemara is going to, we'll discuss this a little bit later on, Belina, either today or tomorrow, that there's two types of passivity. There's totally passive, where the beged, for instance, is doing nothing. The sulfur is doing everything in the case of the silver, and the mugmar, so the mugmar is doing everything that the clothing is doing nothing. But over here, there was a possibility that the pishtan over here is the bundle of flax, which is like the kli itself is doing something. So the Gemara says, no, it's really doing nothing, because that's why the Gemara says, menech naicha. It's completely passive. It's not only a little bit passive, it's totally passive. So then the Gemara asks, what about, but what about the traps that we talked about? You said that you could set a trap. If Beis Hillel holds of shvisas kalim, that there shouldn't be, that there should be shvisas kalim, that they shouldn't do a ma'isa. Well, aren't these traps doing a ma'isa on Shabbos? So the Gemara says, hachamnami rather, beloichi v'tkukari deloikav ma'isa. We're talking about fish hooks and baskets where the trap doesn't do anything. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's say you put out a hook to catch the fish. Or something else. But usually, we talk about, in fact, there's an expression in English, I think this is where it comes from. The guy's very gullible, so he fell for it. Rabbi say, hook, line, and sinker. So he fell for the hook. That means that the fish falls for the hook because there's something on the hook. So the hook doesn't go to get him. So the hook over here is the kli. The kli didn't do anything. It's the fish that jumped onto the hook. Figure out the line of the sinker right now. So over here, the same thing is with all these baskets. Now, what's the shot of the basket? Didn't the basket jump out? No. So the Rishonim explain over here that there's such a basket that is easy to get into and impossible to get out of because the middle is narrow, and then the animal either can't back up or its head is already past the point where it can back up. So in any case, the animal is catching itself, so to speak, and the fish is catching itself. So that's not a ma'aseh. So now the Gemara asks, so we said that so far we said that Rav Yosef still is maintaining his shita, that even Beis Hillel holds of Shvisas Kelim. So Gemara asks, so man tana Shvisas Kelim, Da'iraisa, who is it? Beis Shammai v'lo Beis Hillel. So now we have a problem. It's really not Beis Hillel. So it can't be in our Mishnah. So the Beis Shammai, so Ben Kovid Maisa. So the Gemara asks, so that Shammai he v'loy Beis Hillel. So the Beis Shammai ben kovid ma'aser ben v'lo kovid ma'aser asur. So it seems that according to Beis Shammai that it doesn't matter. Your kli has to rest, and if your kli is not resting, even if it didn't do a ma'aser, so the Beis Hillel, so the Gemara says according to Beis Shammai, it has to rest completely, even if it's not doing anything. But we could say that Beis Hillel, afagav the kovid ma'aser shari, even if it's something that's doing a ma'aser. Let's say, for instance, we're going to talk about very soon cooking, that you put up the crock pot. We're going to get into the crock pots in a couple of minutes, and the crock pot is mamish cooking on Shabbos, but you started at Erev Shabbos. Or for instance, the Shabbos clock, which we spoke about yesterday, that Reb Moshe doesn't hold of except for lights, which we'll get into in a moment. So the Gemara says that l'chayra, you see that according to Beis Hillel, you can even start something Erev Shabbos, even if it's going to do a ma'aser on Shabbos, because Beis Hillel doesn't hold of Shvisas Kelim. He's not worried about Shvisas Kelim. So therefore, the Gemara says, so now you're going to the opposite extreme. That according to Beis Shammai, everything has to rest, even if it's not doing a ma'aser. So if that's the case, so we have like this. Let's go to Amid Bais now. Mugmar v'gofris. So how come Beis Shammai say my time is shori Beis Shammai? So we thought before that even Beis Shammai, that's what it says, seemed to come out of our Mishnah, that even Beis Shammai holds that you could put up the Mugmar Erev Shabbos and you could put up the gofris. That means the perfume and the sulfur. How come? So Morah says no. Hasam manacha'ara. So the spices and the sulfur really they tack on the ground. They're not in a utensil. So Shvisas Kelim. There's no such thing as Shvisas Karka. The Karka doesn't have to rest. Only a Kli has to rest. That's what we learned out from that pasuk. So now the Gemara says, so now let's explain Beis Shammai a little bit more. So the Gemara asks, how come Beis Shammai says, Gigis, V'neir, Ukedera, Ushpud, my time is Shari Beis Shammai. Let's go through what these things are. Let's say there's a barrel, and what we're doing is, with the barrel, now if you take a look at Rashi, this was making beer. So what they did was they soaked the barley, and the hops for more than 8 days, and that included a Shabbos. And we never heard that Beis Shammai said that it's asur. So that's the that's the first one. That's a gigis, is a barrel. Ner is a light. So not only Beis Hillel hold that you should have a lamp, you should have kalim, you should have candles burning Friday night. Everybody holds about Adlakas Neris, right? But what are we going to say over here? Yiddish ladies should not kindle the lights Erev Shabbos. We spoke about it a little bit yesterday, that there's a problem, a little shtickle problem, that the Nemuki Yosef in Bava Kama of Chav Bais asks, how can we do it? It's as if you're making it burn on Shabbos, and he answers the famous answer that it's since it all happened Erev Shabbos, nothing's really happening on Shabbos. But Beis Shammai holds of Shvisas Kelim. So how come we're allowed to have the candle going? And the next kash is Kedera. How can you put up a cholent Erev Shabbos? Everybody has. In the olden days, they had the cholent and went the whole Shabbos. Or Shpud, and Shpud is also the same thing. What they used to do was they used to put something on a spit, and the way they explain it is we're talking about the Korban Pesach. So they used to put it up Erev Shabbos, when Erev Pesach fell out of Shabbos, and they used to allow it to roast on Shabbos. So wait a minute, it's roasting on Shabbos. So how could that be according to Beis Shammai? Beis Shammai seems to hold like that also. So Gemara answers, The answer is the mafkid le'apekude afkure. The mafkid lehu afkure. That we make it hefker. So this leads me to something that's negayah. We've been talking about it a little bit. People that want to tovel kalim now. So there's a very big problem. Everybody's afraid to go to the kalim mikveh because it might be infected, it might be contaminated. A lot of people don't want to go to the ocean; they're afraid. So Chazal have it's based on Chazal, but it's really Achronim that brought this whole thing, which we discussed the other day, about selling your kalim to a guy and then borrowing it back, and that's not bad. It's not bad. Lanias daiti, it's not bad, and there are poskim that have said to do it under less dire situations than Corona. So I'm gonna be on a phone conference in a little while, and tune in. It's Hashem tomorrow when we talk again. If you want, I'll tell you what the conclusion was, because I made a whole halachic case to my colleagues, and I'm hoping that some of them will jump on the bandwagon. But anyway, it doesn't seem to me to be much worse than making it hefker. Okay, now let's go fight it. Man Tana the Tana Rabbanon. Who's the Tana that held about this Bais? That what? Loisamali isha kedera asosios v'turmusin. A woman shouldn't fill up a pot with asosios or turmusin. So now, what are these things? Let's take a quick look in Rashi. So Rashi says that these are different types of beans that need a lot of cooking. So since they need 24 hours of cooking, Rashi says, and the Rajba also, and a number of other Rishonim. So since they need more than 24 hours, so people put them up before Shabbos. They would cook the whole Shabbos, and you can have them from a lava malka. So now the shaila is: so who's the Tana that holds that you can't do this? The Tanich Lutecha Tanor Erev Shabbos Imchashecha, that she can put it into the that this is the way they would work. She would put it into the oven Erev Shabbos, right before Shabbos. Vim Nasnan, if she did it, so she was over on the Rabbanon. L'matzi Shabbos, since she was over on the Rabbanon, so the Mishnah says, or sorry, the Bais says, L'matzi Shabbos Asurin b'Chadesh Yasu. So she has to wait. Let's say that this needed 24 hours, and she had put it up, let's say Thursday. So part of it was done on Friday, which was okay, and then 12 hours. She would have to wait 12 hours, l'mashal. But let's say it only needed the 24 hours of Shabbos. She would have to wait till Sunday. So l'chayra ki similarly, what else did they say is asur? Le'imali nachdom chavis shel mayim. A baker can't fill up a barrel of water v'yaniach l'toich hatanor erev Shabbos imchashecha and put it in the oven on Friday before dark. So now, why would he do this? So the Rishonim stay over here because he wants to have hot water available to knead the dough right after Shabbos. If he did it, so l'matzi Shabbos asur b'chdei shiyasu. So he also used the Shabbos improperly. L'chayra. So why should this be asur according to Bais? So where it says enochanami leme Beis Shammai yivoloi Bais would take a hold that it's mutter. The where says no, I feel it time Bais. Really, the says that even Bais would hold this as asur. Shema. Now this is going to get us into what we're going to have extensively in Mirz Hashem in the next parak, and then skipping the parak and Mashal, we're going to have a little bit in Mamem Adlikin, but mostly we're going to have in Mirz Hashem in the third parak, which is going to be Kira. We're going to have all these halachas of Shabbos ovens and Shabbos stoves, etc., etc. So the Gemara says that we're worried. We're afraid that he's going to stir the gecholim, the coals, on Shabbos. If that's the case, so mugmar v'gafur snami ligzer. So we just said that you have coals that are making mugmar, they're making the incense, the perfume, and they're also making the sulfur hot. Says there's no gzeira of that we're afraid of stirring the coals. Because if he's going to stir the coals, it's going to cause a smoke, and it's going to ruin the clothing. It's going to ruin the kalim that he's trying to make beautiful, the kashlu, and it's going to ruin everything. So therefore, we don't make the gzeira. They never made the gzeira. So when, but then we said that you could put the bundles of flax in the oven before Shabbos. So how come you can do that? So Gemara answers, over there, because as soon as you have a draft, so the bundles of flax, they're going to get terrible. So the Megalole, so he's never gonna stir the coals. He's not gonna even open the oven door. Gemara says, wait a minute, semel yora ligzar. But then we said also you can throw in the Mishnah. It said you can throw the Mishnah. The Mishnah said you can throw wool into the vat because it's going to all happen on Shabbos, but it got started Erev Shabbos. So the case is that he put it into the vat before Shabbos, so it's a vat that was taken off of the fire. So in general, when something's off the fire, a lot is mutter. Maybe you're going to stir it. You're not even allowed to stir it if it's off the fire. So the teretz says there's two things going for us. First of all, it's off the fire, and second of all, it's all sealed shut. So first of all, maybe he won't even need to stir it because there's no point in stirring something that's off the fire. And even if he decides to, find that it's sealed, and that's either going to remind him that you're not supposed to open it up, or it's gonna just deter him because he doesn't want to go to the trouble of unsealing it. So now the Gemara asks, but now that we learned that Beis Hillel that holds that you can't put a pot up, that was now Beis Hillel. Because if it's Beis Shammai B'chlal, you can't put it up because the Tzvi says Kalim. So how could I could chayasa? But this is negeya. How we put up our cholents, Rabbi say, tremendously negeya. What if you have a pot full of raw food, and that's the way many of not only the pots are put up, but if you have the pressure cookers type of things and the other things, shori lanucha erev Shabbos im chashecha b'tanura, so you can put up the cholent erev Shabbos, and we're not worried. Why? My time says why not? Because kiven lechazil leorta, since it can't be eaten at night anyway. Asucha meisach daitemine. So he takes his mind off of it. There's no reason to stir the coals. So by us, we're not worried because what are we talking about? A Friday night cholent? It's too raw for it to be edible. So he's not going to touch it Friday night, and we're going to get into the other type of things that you're allowed to put up over here. So you can put up anything that's raw and the cholent, even though it has beans, but it's not going to be edible Friday night. Now, there's a big machlokes if this applies bisman hazeh or not. Well, Maisa, many of the poskim of the last generation were very worried about applying bisman hazeh because we have things that different types of pots that are electrical that cook much faster. So when we're talking about such a pot, so maybe we'll be ready to eat a Friday night. But lemaisa, if we put up something totally raw, many poskim hold that there's no problem at all. And then we'll see we're not worried that you're going to put it higher because even so, it's good to cover up the dials, by the way. Ubashul, and the same thing is about cooked food. Shapidami, it's the same thing that bashul. So bashul v'loy bashul aser. So, but let's say something is a little bit cooked and it's not cooked. So if you show the bigar mechaya, so then it's aser. But if you throw in even one piece of meat that's raw, chaya means over here raw. So then shapidami, it's going to be okay. Now the word garma actually means a bone. So it's interesting that mostly the bone you throw to the behemoth, you throw it to the dog, or maybe you suck it a little bit if you like. The marach beina, the ones that have the bone and it has inside of it the good stuff. Good, fine, very nice. But on the other hand, we're that's matter the entire cholent, and it's matter the entire pot. Now, the Gemara continues. So we said like this: anytime that we're not going to open it because the draft is bad, because you can leave it in the oven because people won't open the oven. So what about if you have goat's meat, which is it is going to be ruined by a draft, but you have sharik, you have an oven that's totally sealed with with some kind of sealant. Could be clay or something more modern. So shapidami, so it's also okay to leave that in the oven. So, but the barcha v'le sharik, but so that's when there's two things that are good for it. In other words, the goat meat is very tender, and it's going to be harmed by a drift of a blast of air. But what about the barcha v'le sharik? But the other side of this is when the meat is a ram. A ram is already an older, an older animal, so it's pretty tough meat, and the draft is not going to hurt it at all, and the oven is unsealed. So also, because then we're afraid that you're going to mess around with the oven. So Gemara asked, what if you have one but not the other? The gadja of a What about if it's the meat of a young goat, but it's not sealed, or the barcha, or it's the meat of a ram, visharik, and it is sealed? So Ravashi shari, Ravashi held that it's mutter, Rav Yirmiyah midifte held that it's also. So machlokes seems to be over here. Do you need two things going for you, or only one is good enough? So I asked, well, Ravashi the shari, according to Ravashi that holds that it's mutter. So how come? Rashi the Shari, so Vasnan, it's a Mishnah, not a Bryson, that's a Sanya. And Sil and Batsal, Ubeya, you're not allowed to roast meat or onions or eggs, El Chadesh Yitzolim by join, only if it could get completely roasted and it's going to be edible before Shabbos. So l'chayra, why shouldn't it be mutter? We just said that it's all mutter. The case over there was that there's two things wrong. First of all, it's the meat of a ram, and a breeze is not going to hurt it, and the oven is not sealed. So when you have two things going against you, we said that we make exer. The Ikadamri, the Gemara says no. It's another thing. We're going to go like this. The gadja, we're talking about the case of by the way, chad gadja is the same thing. We're talking about the goat. So a young goat. So ben sharik, ben le sharik. So if the oven is sealed or it's not sealed, shapidami, so it should be okay. And the bar chanami usharik, or even if this meat of the ram, so even if it's sealed, shapidami, it should also be good. Kipli, when is there a machlekes? The bar le sharik, that let's say that it's the meat of the ram and the oven is not sealed. Ravashi Ravashi holds that it's mutter, and we're not worried. For Rav Yomi Medifta also. Rav Yomi Medifta holds that it's us. So now that we have this lashon, or Ravashi the Shari, the Gemara asks, "Vasnan, what about we learned in the Mishnah and Solim Basa Batzel Ubeitza El Kadeshi Yitzolim by Join that you're not allowed to roast anything unless it can be finished Friday? Why?" Gemara says, "Hasam B'Bisra Gumra." We're not talking about in an oven. We're talking about over there. It's on open coals. So if it's an open coals, so even Ravashi holds that you got to worry that somebody's going to stir the coals. It's not a matter of opening anything. It's available. When something is available, as we'll soon see, that in our modern day we're more worried about. Now we'll discuss it a little bit either tonight or either tomorrow. Now Ravina said, "Hi kara chaya." Let's say you have squash, and it's raw. So shapidami, so you could let it roast in the oven. Why? Even the kashle zika, because Chazal had a Kabbalah that a drift is bad, it's going to ruin it. So nobody's going to open it up. So kabisra the gadjadami, so it's like the meat of the goat, which we're also not worried that somebody's going to open up because the drift will hurt and will actually ruin the goat meat. So now the Gemara goes on. What else are you not allowed to do? You're not allowed to sell something to a guy on Friday, and Beis Hillel has no problem with it. So Tana Rabbanu Gemara brings a Bais on this. Beis Shammai says you can't even sell something to a guy Friday, fully ashulenu, or you can't lend it to him, fully alvenu, or you can lend, and you can't lend him something when he's going to give you back something similar or money. Fully matani, you can't give him a gift. You have to give it to him, and he's going to go home, and he has enough time to get home. No. All he has to do is be able to get into the non-Jewish neighborhood, presumably, and to the nearest house. So the Gemara says, because then nobody's going to be choshed apparently that the Yid, because the guy walked out, he's going home. Rabbi Akiva said, no, he's much more apparently makel even than Beis Hillel. He says that as long as when the guy leaves his house, it's still right before Shabbos, it's mutter. So Rabbi Yossi rather Rabbi Yehudah, Hein and Divri Rabbi Akiva, Hein and Divri Beis Hillel. That is that Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Hillel both agree. Eloi bo Rabbi Akiva lefarish Divri Beis Hillel. Rabbi Akiva is only coming to explain Beis Hillel's words. So what he means is that lav dafka that the guy has to be able to get to his house. He just has to be able to get out of your house. So nobody's going to think that you gave the guy instructions. But if somebody comes around and it's after Shabbos and there's no guy around, so then nobody's worried. Nobody's going to be choshed at anybody. Let's just go drop over here. It's a few lines, and then we can go to the two dots on the beginning of Daf Yomi. Then we'll still talk for 1 minute. Tana Baruch we learned in Bais. It's very interesting because we're coming up to selling our chametz to the guy. So Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai rather said, can't really do it right before Shabbos. Ellen ken yodea boy sheyichala koydem Pesach. So this is not only a Shabbos. It means that the guy would have to, let's say, you give him a bottle of schnapps. He's going to knock it off. He's going to drink it down. Divrei Beis Shammai. Well, Beis Hillel, no, kol zman shemutar lochloi. As long as it's permitted for us to eat the chametz mutar l'machlo, you can sell it. Rabbi Yehudah says that kutach habavli, that was some kind of like a mixture of a dip. The chomine kutach, and all the dips. Also, limkar shloishim yom koydem Pesach. You're not allowed to sell it for 30 days before Pesach. Why? Because it's used as a dip, and it takes a long time for it to be used up. So from over here, we'll continue this tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. I just wanted to take the halacha from this a little bit. Halacha l'maisa. So I mentioned something, but let's. This is all about the Shabbos clocks. So the Mincha Shloima, that's Reb Shloima Zalman Auerbach Zecher Tzadik Livracha, writes in his Mincha Shloima, and his Shulchan Shloima is another one of his Svarim, that you can set up a Shabbos clock before Shabbos, but then he says Roy lahachmish shvisas kalim. So maybe we should worry about shvisas kalim, or lahafkes Hashem be'efka gomer b'arav Shabbos, or you have to make it hefka like we just said, because Shav Shetur v'Shulchan Apostle she'ein din shvisas kalim afilu v'drabanan. So Rav Shlomo Zalman asks himself, we don't hold of shvisas kalim. Says nach lachshoish l'das abach v'rei poiskim achroinim havil halacha chum rezushal abach sheich v'lechol Shemayim. So he holds that we should be machmir like Beis Shammai and worry about shvisas kalim. So the emes is that our minig is, and I'll just show you for a moment from the great gadol that was just nifter. And let me see if I have it over here. The Be'er Moshe, first of all, the Debretzina Rav, that he somebody showed him that people used a Shabbos clock, and what they did was that it turned on the dishwasher. So he said that Amati Mishtaimim, the Tirgas Bitni, I was very upset. Mishamal Atidova Kazet. See, he was matir for lights, just like Rav Moshe Feinstein. And then there's another sefer, the Malachim Emunecha, says, Ef sheklau heter hadlokas ha'or v'chibuya hu gam mashenogu lafel mizgan v'al marvad. In other words, air conditioners and fans. It's mutter. But Reb Moshe holds it to us. The very famous Reb Moshe, I mentioned it yesterday. Reb Moshe says, Poshet she'osil la'atazeh. You're not allowed to use it for any other malacha than the lights themselves. I think I mentioned to you, I heard this from Reb David Zogazonson, Reb David Feinstein, that Reb Moshe lost that one. He said the Tata had nicht gewonnen, something like that. He said that my father lost that one, because today almost everybody uses these clocks, the timers, for other things. But it's interesting that we did learn today that a number of poskim hold that we do keep shvisas kalim, and Rav Shlomo Zalman also was worried about keeping shvisas kalim. That would mean that we wouldn't be able to use timers. But Lamaisa, the Gedolei Adar of the last generation, some of them agreed with Rav Moshe partially, some not, but almost everybody allows them for lights today and for basics, like we just said, for air conditioners and for things like fans and for the heat, but not to do other types of work like we mentioned the other day. Okay, just as a reminder, Rabbi say, tomorrow morning is Wednesday, and Thursday morning Rosh Chodesh, and Friday morning we're learning back at 7:15. Okay, everybody have a good Tanakh, and we will continue.
All three, the rest of the week, same schedule.
Yeah, morning. Yeah, all morning. Yeah, back to the morning. I don't know what's going to be next week. We'll take it one week at a time.